echoes in the hallway. The piercing notes of a violin reverberated through the empty hallway of Westbrook Academy, each note slightly off-key but played with unmistakable passion. Olivia Winters paused outside practice room C, her ears tuned to the determined efforts behind the door. Most of the faculty had departed hours ago, but as the junior music therapy assistant, Olivia's hours extended well beyond the final bell. She knocked gently before entering. Inside, a thin boy with unruly brown hair hurriedly lowered an ancient violin that had clearly seen better days. "I'm sorry, Ms. Winters," Ethan Parker mumbled, his eyes fixed on his scuffed shoes. "I know students aren't supposed to use the practice rooms without supervision." Olivia smiled, setting down her overflowing tote bag. "Actually, I came to see if you wanted some company." That was Vivaldi's Winter, wasn't it? Ambitious choice. Surprise flickered across Ethan's face. At 12, he was the newest scholarship student at Westbrook, where designer uniforms and legacy admissions were the norm. His second-hand uniform hung loosely on his frame and his violin case was patched with duct tape. "My mom taught me before she—" His voice trailed off. "The strings are old and I can't afford new ones yet." Olivia nodded, understanding the unspoken. "Mind if I listen? I have some rosin in my bag that might help with that E string." For the next half hour, Olivia listened as Ethan played, offering gentle suggestions while marveling at his raw talent. Neither noticed the tall figure pausing in the hallway, drawn by the music. The following morning, Olivia was arranging instruments for her group therapy session when raised voices caught her attention. In the courtyard, 3 eighth-grade boys circled Ethan, whose violin case had spilled open on the ground. "Is that duct tape? God, Parker, does your family shop at the dollar store?" jeered Preston Whitney, the school board president's son. "Bet he found it in the trash," another boy laughed, nudging the case with his foot. Olivia moved swiftly across the courtyard. "That's enough, gentlemen," Preston smirked. "We're just having a conversation, Ms. Winters. Not that it's any of your business. You're just the assistant." Drawing herself to her full height of 5'4", Olivia stepped between them and Ethan. "Actually, Mr. Whitney, as a member of this faculty, the well-being of every student is precisely my business. And as someone who understands music, I can tell you that the value of a musician isn't measured by the price tag of their instrument, but by the heart behind their playing." She helped Ethan gather his things. Besides, some of the greatest composers in history created masterpieces while living in poverty. "I'd be careful about judging what you don't understand." The boys retreated, muttering as Olivia knelt beside Ethan. "Don't give them the satisfaction," she said quietly. "Your playing has something their expensive lessons haven't given them: soul." From the administrative building window, Julian Reed watched the scene unfold. He'd arrived to discuss his nephew's adjustment with the headmaster, still uncomfortable in his new role as guardian. Since his sister's death 3 months ago, he'd struggled to connect with Ethan, despite their shared musical background. "Who is that?" he asked Headmaster Phillips, indicating Olivia. "Miss Winters? Just our music therapy assistant. Talented enough, but rather unconventional in her methods." Julian observed her animated gestures as she spoke with Ethan, whose rare smile made him look startlingly like Julian's late sister. "Interesting," Julian murmured. "I'd like to know more about this program of hers." What he didn't say was that for the first time since Ethan had come to live with him, he'd seen the boy look something other than lost. Crescendo of curiosity, the school's grand piano had seen better days. Its ivory keys yellowed with age, but under Olivia's fingers it sang. She was playing a simplified arrangement of Debussy's Clair de Lune for her Thursday afternoon therapy group, when she noticed someone lingering in the doorway. "Please, don't stop on my account," said the tall man in the charcoal suit. She recognized him as Ethan's guardian. She'd spotted him at drop-offs, always keeping a polite but noticeable distance from the other parents with their designer outfits and casual displays of wealth. "Mr. Reed," Olivia acknowledged, continuing to play softly as her students worked on their rhythm exercises. "I don't usually have observers in my sessions." "Julian, please," he corrected, stepping into the room with an apologetic smile. "Headmaster Phillips suggested I see the music program firsthand. Ethan mentioned he's been participating." There was something in his voice, a hint of an accent perhaps, or a particular cadence that reminded Olivia of her conservatory professors. She finished the piece with a gentle flourish before turning her attention fully to him. "He has natural talent," she said. Though I suspect you already know that. Something flashed across Julian's face, surprise perhaps at her directness. I do, his mother was the same way. The session ended, and as the students filed out, Ethan lingered, glancing uncertainly between his uncle and his teacher. I'll see you tomorrow, Ethan, Olivia assured him. Don't forget to practice that breathing technique we discussed. Once alone, Julian surveyed the modest music room with its mismatched chairs and aging instruments. This isn't quite what I expected from Westbrook's prestigious arts program. The regular music department has the funding, Olivia explained, organizing her sheet music. The therapy program is less of a priority for the board. Yet you've made quite an impression on my nephew. He mentioned your name twice this week. A record for our conversations. Olivia smiled, remembering the withdrawn boy who had barely spoken during his first sessions. Ethan communicates through music when words fail him. Not unlike someone else I've read about. Julian raised an eyebrow. You know who I am. Julian Reed, the composer. Your symphony Midnight in Prague was required listening at my conservatory. She shrugged. Though I admit I didn't make the connection to Ethan until recently. Their conversation was interrupted by the sharp click of heels on marble. Dr. Victoria Hargrove, the school's curriculum director, appeared in the doorway, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Mr. Reed, what a pleasure. I see you've met our assistant. I hope she's not monopolizing your time. Actually, Julian said smoothly, Miss Winters was explaining her approach to music therapy. I find it fascinating. Dr. Hargrove's smile tightened. While we value Miss Winters' enthusiasm, I should mention that the board is reviewing all auxiliary programs for next year's budget. Nothing is certain. After she departed, Olivia sighed. Translation, my program is on the chopping block. Julian studied her with newfound interest. You knew who I was, yet you didn't ask for anything. Most people do. I'm not most people, Mr. Reed. No, he agreed. You're not. He hesitated, then added, Ethan has a recital coming up. He's nervous about performing. I wonder if I could help him prepare? Of course. Olivia gathered her things, adding with a hint of mischief, That's what I'm here for. Just the assistant, after all. As she walked away, Julian found himself wondering when he'd last met someone who saw beyond his reputation and wealth to the music itself. It had been a very long time indeed. Dissonance and harmony autumn leaves spiraled down outside the cafe window, where Olivia sat across from Julian, their laughter punctuating the gentle jazz playing in the background. What had begun as discussions about Ethan's musical education had evolved into regular meetings that stretched beyond their original purpose. You should have seen his face when he mastered that difficult passage, Olivia said, warming her hands around her mug. It was like watching someone find their voice. Julian nodded, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He practices constantly now. Our housekeeper, Mrs. Diaz, has started wearing earplugs during her afternoon shifts. Housekeeper? Olivia raised an eyebrow. I thought you lived in that apartment complex near the park. Julian's expression shifted subtly. That's the guest house. My main residence is a bit larger. Later that evening, curiosity led Olivia to an internet search that revealed what Julian had omitted. Pictures of his sprawling estate featured in architectural magazines, mentions of his family's generations-old fortune, and his reputation not just as a composer, but as one of the city's most eligible bachelors and philanthropists. The next day at school, Olivia's coolness was palpable as she guided Ethan through his scales. Did I do something wrong? Julian asked when they were alone, genuinely confused by the change. You let me believe you were just a moderately successful composer, Olivia said, her voice tight, not the Julian Reed who donated millions to rebuild the city symphony hall. Would you have treated me differently if you'd known? That's not the point. You weren't honest. Their conversation was interrupted by Headmaster Phillips and Dr. Hargrove entering with formal expressions that immediately set Olivia on edge. Miss Winters, we need to discuss the future of the music therapy program, Dr. Hargrove began. The board has voted to reallocate funds to expand the competitive sports facilities. But my students are making real progress, Olivia protested. This program gives voice to children who struggle to be heard in traditional classrooms. The decision is final, Headmaster Phillips said firmly. The program will conclude at the end of this semester. Julian stood silent, acutely aware that a single phone call to the board chairman, his former college roommate, could likely reverse the decision. Yet Olivia's earlier accusation of dishonesty stung, making him hesitate. Later, he found Olivia in the practice room, furiously sorting through sheet music with tears threatening to spill. "I could help," he offered quietly. "With your money and influence?" Her voice was bitter. "No, thank you. I don't need a wealthy benefactor swooping in to save the day. These children need someone who believes in the program's value, not just its price tag." Julian stepped back, stung. "Is that all you think I see? A price tag? I don't know what you see, Julian. I'm not sure you were ever really looking." As he left, the distance between them felt wider than ever, both haunted by words left unspoken and truths half revealed. The minor fall. The major lift snow dusted the Westbrook Academy grounds as Olivia pinned another flyer to the community bulletin board. "Winter Showcase Music Therapy Students Present Healing Harmonies," read the bold headline. Beneath it, in smaller print, "All proceeds benefit the continuation of the music therapy program." It was a desperate measure. In the 3 weeks since the board's announcement, Olivia had launched a campaign to save her program, organizing the showcase, seeking community sponsors, and gathering testimonials from parents whose children had thrived under her guidance. "Ms. Winters?" Ethan approached hesitantly, clutching his violin case. "I'm not sure I can do this." Olivia knelt to meet his eyes. "The showcase?" He nodded, swallowing hard. "What if I mess up? Everyone will be watching. Remember what we practice in therapy. Music isn't about perfection. It's about expression." She squeezed his shoulder. "Besides, you'll be playing your mother's favorite piece. She would be so proud." As Ethan left for class, Olivia spotted a familiar figure across the courtyard. Julian had been scarce since their argument, communicating about Ethan through brief emails. Seeing him now, engaged in what appeared to be a serious conversation with Headmaster Phillips, she felt a familiar flutter beneath her ribs, quickly followed by uncertainty. That evening, Olivia discovered an envelope in her faculty mailbox containing an anonymous donation to her program. Substantial, but not enough to secure its future. Attached was a note with the Westbrook letterhead. "The board has agreed to reconsider the program's termination based on the showcase's success." Suspicion immediately fell on Julian. When confronted outside Ethan's practice room, he neither confirmed nor denied his involvement. "You're too proud to accept help," he said instead, his voice tinged with frustration. "Has it occurred to you that I might value your work for reasons beyond trying to impress you? Then why the secrecy? Why work behind my back? Because you made it clear you didn't want my assistance." He ran a hand through his hair. "Olivia, not everything is about money. Some things are about—" He trailed off, looking suddenly vulnerable. "About what?" Instead of answering, Julian glanced at his watch. "I need to get Ethan home. He has a video call with his therapist." Olivia turned to leave, but Julian caught her arm. "There's something you should know," he said quietly. "Something I should have told you earlier." He hesitated. "When I was Ethan's age, I was considered a prodigy. By 16, I was performing internationally. By 20, I was burned out, hating every note I played." Understanding dawned in Olivia's eyes. "That's why you stopped performing," he nodded. "My compositions became successful, but I haven't touched a piano in performance for 15 years. The music just tied inside me." His eyes found hers. "Until I watched you with those children. With Ethan." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. For the first time, Olivia saw Julian not as the wealthy composer or the distant guardian, but as someone who understood loss, the loss of music, of passion, of family. "The showcase is next Friday," she said finally. "Ethan's terrified, but he needs to play. Maybe—" She took a deep breath. "Maybe he's not the only one." Symphony of second chances. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as parents, faculty, and community members filled the seats. Backstage, Olivia moved between her nervous students, adjusting bow ties and offering reassuring smiles. When she reached Ethan, she found him staring at his violin, fingers trembling. "I can't do this," he whispered. "Yes, you can," came a voice from behind them. Julian stepped forward, holding a sleek black case. But not with that instrument. He opened the case to reveal a honey-colored violin that gleamed under the stage lights. This was your mother's, Julian explained. I had it restored. His eyes met Olivia's briefly. Some things deserve a second chance. Ethan touched the strings reverently. Mom would want you to play again too, he said to his uncle. Julian's face paled. Ethan, I don't... Please, the boy insisted. Ms. Winters says music helps us heal. Don't you need healing too? The showcase began, each student performing pieces they had worked on in therapy. Parents dabbed at tears, witnessing children who struggled with words express themselves fluently through melody. When Ethan's turn came, he played his mother's favorite Mendelssohn piece with a purity of tone that silenced the room. As applause faded, Olivia stepped to the microphone. Our final performance wasn't on the program. She gestured to the side of the stage. Mr. Julian Reed has agreed to join us. Murmurs rippled through the audience as Julian approached the grand piano. For a moment, he simply stared at the keys, 15 years of silence stretching between his fingers and the ivory. Then he looked up, finding Olivia's encouraging smile, and began to play. The piece started tentatively, a composition no one recognized before blossoming into something that spoke of loss and rediscovery, pain and healing. Without planning it, Ethan raised his violin and joined, their impromptu duet weaving a tapestry of shared grief and newfound hope. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when they finished. As the audience rose in a standing ovation, Headmaster Phillips approached the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, I'm pleased to share that the board has unanimously voted to not only continue the music therapy program, but to expand it with dedicated space and full-time status for Ms. Winters. Later, as they packed up instruments and collected congratulatory bouquets, Julian found Olivia alone in the now empty auditorium. I should thank you, he said softly. For what? For reminding me why music matters. For showing Ethan that courage isn't about perfection. He paused. For seeing me, not my name or my bank account. Olivia stepped closer. I'm sorry I misjudged you. I'm sorry I wasn't honest from the start. His hand found hers, though I'm not sorry our paths crossed. Under the dimmed stage lights, they stood at the threshold of something new, a composition yet unwritten. What happens now? Olivia asked. Julian smiled, the weight of years lifting from his shoulders. Now, he said, we improvise. Outside, Ethan waited, his mother's violin in one hand and the future in the other, as snow began to fall like notes on an empty page, a blank score ready for their symphony of second chances.